Hey, what's up guys, Jaeky here. Today we're going to be unboxing and reviewing the NuPhy Field75 HE. This is a Hall effect keyboard using magnetic switches once again. So this keyboard is currently retailing for $150 USD if you choose the magnetic white switches. If you want to go with the magnetic jade switches, that will be a little bit more expensive, coming in at $175 USD. On the website, you can also choose an additional wrist rest if you want to come with the keyboard, and that will run you an extra $34. And not only can you add a wrist rest, but you can also add additional keycaps and a desk mat as well if you're into that. So what's unique about the Field75 HE is that it has 8,000 Hz polling rate, which will be faster than your typical 1,000 polling rate keyboards. Although polling rate on keyboards doesn't really matter, to be honest, it's really just a marketing gimmick at the end of the day. You're really not going to notice a difference between a 1,000 Hz and an 8,000 Hz polling rate keyboard. But it's still very cool that this keyboard supports up to 8,000 Hz polling rate. This keyboard is going to have SOCD support, which is Razer's Snap Tap. Optimum Tech made a really good video on Razer Snap Tap, aka SOCD, and this keyboard, the Field75 HE, will support that. And then you also have your support for the typical Hall effect features such as the customizable actuation and rapid trigger. And the PCB does support hot swap, but obviously it is only hot swappable with other magnetic switches. So yeah, let's get straight into the unboxing here. And honestly, the first thing that really jumped out to me was the design of the keyboard. I mean, this is really just a very unique looking keyboard, and that alone is a good reason to buy it, not just the Hall effect and the other great features that this keyboard has, but just the look of the board itself is very unique. You also get south-facing RGBs to ensure the most compatibility with any keycaps that you want to run on these, as well as a sound dampening top mount, but we'll see later how much this actually affects the sound profile of the board. So in the box here, you get the keyboard itself right here. As you can see, like I said, very unique looking board. This is a plastic chassis, so you're not going to be getting a full aluminum case or anything like that. It is plastic. There is quite a bit of heft to the board, but it's not like a super premium case or anything like that. It's just plastic. On the bottom here, you have a little metal branding weight here, and then you have two flip out feet with only one adjustable level, so it's only one level here. You either have it out or you don't. But yeah, a lot of rubber feet on the bottom here, so I believe this will stay on your desk very firmly. Yeah, no need to really worry about it slipping around whatsoever. But you can really see the design of the board is very unique. You have these buttons on the side here, which I'm sure are programmable, so you can just use these for whatever. You can even add macros onto it. Not sure what this knob does, but yeah, you also have a knob up here as well. So I don't know if this is a functional knob or if it's for aesthetics, but we'll find out later. On the bottom, you also have more macro keys. So a lot of macro keys on this keyboard. So if you are in need of a Hall effect board with dedicated macro keys, this is definitely the one for you. And then obviously you have your dedicated arrow keys. A little handle on the side here, pretty interesting. You can use it to carry your keyboard around if you're into that. If we look on the top here, USB-C port is on the left side of the keyboard. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is physically about the board. In the box, you get a quick start guide, which is absolutely huge. It's like a giant pamphlet here going over all of your settings. This knob actually is functional. This is for your volume here, and then this one right here is for your RGB lighting. So by default, that's what these two knobs do. Going up and down on this knob will change your volume, obviously, and if you press in on the side, there's an audible click, and you can use that to mute and unmute. So that's actually very cool. Oh, there's like an anime girl on the other side of the quick start guide. Very interesting. They're appealing to my weeb side. Anyways, as for other accessories in the box, you get some extra keycaps here. You also get a switch and keycap puller 2-in-1. This is what it looks like. Very typical. And of course, you get your USB-C cable to USB-A. This is not a braided cable. It's just a rubber cable. Honestly, pretty cheap feeling cable. I would have loved to see a braided cable. I feel like that's pretty standard nowadays to have a braided cable. Just feels a lot higher quality than these rubber cables, but at the end of the day, it will do what it was meant to do. And that is all you are getting in the box in terms of accessories. So now let's get this plugged in so we can see what the default lighting looks like, and then I will download the firmware updates as well as run you guys through the software so that you guys can see what the software looks like for the Field75 HE. Alright guys, here is the Field75HE all plugged in with the default RGB on. And now let me get the firmware updated and we can take a look at the software. Alright guys, here we are on the web-based software, and this is one thing I want to point out that I really like. I love when peripheral companies make their software web-based just so you don't have to download anything on your computer. Absolutely love that. So you just have to go to this URL right here and you can start editing everything on the keyboard, which is great. And we can do all the basic things right here on the first tab, just the key bindings. You can remap all of these keys right here to do whatever you want, and you can have different layers as well. And then here you can change all of the macro keys as well. It looks like on the side, the default is just media control for the macro keys on the left, and then the bottom is F5 through F8, which you can obviously change to whatever you want. Moving on to the second tab here is going to be our rapid trigger settings. So you can see here that there's a visualization. If I press down the D key, it shows me how much I've pressed it down right there. Very cool to see, just so you can see a real-time visualization of not only the keys you're pressing, but how far you're actuating them. And so I'm just going to select all the keys here, and it looks like we can set the actuation point. So I'm going to set mine to 1 millimeter. You can also configure the dead zone, which I will leave on the default for now. And then you can change the rapid trigger as well, how much you need to press it and how much you need to release it. Looks like it can go down to 0.02 millimeters. That's where I'm going to put it at. And I'm also going to turn off separate press and release sensitivity. So yeah, it doesn't look like there's a save button, so I'm just going to assume that it automatically saves to the keyboard. And then obviously, if you don't want to select all the keys, like if I wanted my spacebar to be separate, I can just cancel all and then select only my spacebar and change the settings here for only my spacebar. So if I wanted my spacebar less sensitive, let's say, and I wanted the rapid trigger to be off on my keyboard, I can do that and it will update on here in real time. So yeah, very intuitive. Yeah, it seems pretty easy to change all the settings. Third tab here is going to be the lighting effects. So you can choose different lighting effects. Default is going to be wave. Let's try like tide, for example. You can see it changes immediately. And then the last tab here, you can lock the Windows key, Alt F4, stuff like that. Gaming optimization, eliminate the contact unevenness resulting from errors introduced during manufacturing. This is on by default, so I guess you want to leave that on. Anti-wobbliness, interesting. And then here you can change polling rate as well. Let me just set that on 8,000 real quick. Now we're on 8,000 hertz polling rate. So yeah, pretty basic software, but it really does everything you need it to do. Currently, there's no SOCD. They are still working on that. So if you're interested in the SOCD feature, it's not currently out yet, but it will be in the future. Okay, so that's the software. Pretty solid. Let's hop into Valorant now and see whether or not the rapid trigger and customizable actuation work as intended. And yeah, in the range, it seems like the keyboard is working perfectly as intended. Feels pretty much the same as my Wooting. If I feather the key, my character moves slightly, and then as soon as I let go of the key even slightly, my character will stop moving in game. So yeah, pretty indistinguishable from the Wooting, and it feels great in game, so really no complaints there performance wise. Alright guys, finally let's do a sound test of the Field75 and then we can wrap things up afterwards. Alright guys, that was the sound test of the Field75HE. Pretty decent sounding board, really no complaints. I think it sounds pretty good. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So really solid board. There definitely is more premium feeling boards that you can pick up that are Hall effect around this price range that I have reviewed on my channel with a metal case. So if you want a more premium feeling keyboard with like a metal case, then there are definitely other options out there. But this keyboard is pretty unique in the fact that it has these macro keys and it has just a unique look in general. So if you need these macro keys and you just need a solid performing Hall effect keyboard with a unique look. Like if you really like this look right here and you need these extra macro keys, then this is definitely a solid keyboard to look at. Really no complaints from me. The performance is really solid in terms of the Hall effect, and it sounds pretty decent as well. So definitely worth checking out. I will leave a link in the description below. But that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.